Call the Lamar City Council regular meeting to order Tuesday, November 4th, 12 p.m. Could we have a roll call, Bev?
Nelson?
Yes.
Knapp? Rexbro?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes.
Thank you. Would everybody please stand and join me in pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion been made and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'd like to welcome everyone in the chamber today. Bennett with the Lamar's Sentinel, and particularly you people that are watching over television in regard to our meeting today. First thing on the agenda is the general discussion. And the way we handle our general discussion is we ask you to step up to the podium. If you've got comments or concerns about the city or anything good to say about them, state your name and address, and the council cannot make decisions on this particular topic, but they're always certainly willing to sit and listen. Do we have any comments from anybody? Be there none, we'll move along. Thumbs up award, John.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Clark?
Into political commercials today.
Good.
For a year.
Delana?
Just wanted to give a thumbs up to the holiday dollar sale that the chamber did that will, in essence, keep $204,000 of spending money between now and December 24th in the community. And I believe they still have at the chamber retail and restaurant dollars available.
I know they do. Mary has told me this morning. Anything else?
Nope.
Ken?
Nothing, thank you.
I have two this morning, or today. And the first one is, has to do with the public safety of our city of Lamar's. About 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we received a memo from Kim Andrews, who is the Community Outreach Coordinator of Safety Choice Security. And Lamar's has been designated the 16th safest city in the state of Iowa, which is quite an honor. There's a lot of cities, I don't know how many cities is in the state or
950.
or towns. How many?
950.
Thank you, Scott. 950 cities, and we're ranked 16th as the safest. So Stu and Dave, you people are involved in those things. Keep up the good work. Very proud. The second one is Lamar's is being recognized on the map for outstanding tourism community. And what this is there was two of them presented in the state of Iowa. One was presented 10,000 population and over, which I believe went to Cedar Rapids, excuse me, Jessica. And the other one, Lamar's, was picked as the second one. The city of Lamar's received an outstanding community award for its tourism efforts. The award was presented at the Iowa Tourism Office and Travel Federation at the Iowa 2014 Iowa Tourism Convention last week, which was held in Council Bluffs, and Jessica and I had the great honor of going down and accepting it. Lamar's received the Outstanding Community Award for cities with a population of 10,000 and under. Here is the award, the plaque, so again, Jessica, keep up the good work and do what you're doing. Apparently the tourism committees or program's working. Going on to consent items. Today we have 4 of them. Approval of the October 21st, 2014 regular meeting minutes. Number 2 is a list of the bills for period ending 10/31/14. Number 3 is the urban revitalization tax exemption requests. And number 4 is a CDBG downtown facade program extended bid date. Does any of the council members have any questions?
I'd like to pull number 4.
Number 4, okay. And what do you need, Clark?
I'm just curious, Should there be a finish date on this?
There is 150 days from notice to proceed.
Okay. I just wanted to double check and make sure that we had is there penalties after that 150 days?
Yes, there's liquidated damages stated in the contract documents. I can't quote off the top of my head what that is.
Okay, that's okay. 150 days, is that from when they start or once we give the thumbs up? I mean, they get to go ahead, because they're talking about winter month problems here a little bit.
It's from the official written and signed by us, notice to proceed. So
Okay.
that's a legal document that gives them the permission to proceed with the project. It's 150 days after that. There is a caveat here that came out during the pre-bid conference, and that is especially the tuck pointing of all these buildings, and almost all 29 will get some form of tuck pointing on their building. Tuck pointing cannot be done during freezing conditions. So it was discussed with those in attendance that perhaps the city of Lamar should allow the project to stop the countdown, the 150-day countdown, during weather that is not inducive to productive work.
Right.
So during the winter months, it is, just like I put in the agenda, there could be a stoppage of construction during those severe winter months when you can't do that kind of work. And then we pick it up in the spring. I do think, however, the drop dead completion date then is going to be sometime in June or July of 15.
Okay,
Next year.
excellent.
So those days will not count against us then?
That
Against
will
them.
not count against the contractor's 150 days.
Right.
So let's say they get 30 days this fall. Well, then they'll have 120 days next spring/summer.
Right.
Or if they get 60 days yet, because we have a nice fall, then they'll get 80 days next spring,
Okay.
okay?
Does that answer your question? Kevin?
Absolutely.
Motion to
Any other
approve consent items 1 through 4.
Is there a second? Motion made and second to approve the items 1 through 4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Going on to the action items. We have an action item, fence and pool easement request. Vaughn Bagstead is requesting he be allowed to keep a swimming pool that has already become constructed to remain in a utility and drainage easement. The address is 470 19th Street Southeast. The swimming pool was constructed 3 feet into a 10-foot easement. Mr. Bagstead is also asking to construct a fence in the same easement. The Lamar's Code of Ordinances, Section 165.23, states that no buildings or structures are allowed on easements, utility, without council approval. A building permit was not required for the swimming pool, so its location was unknown until recently. Lamar's Code of Ordinances, Section 167.15 states that fences are not allowed in a drainage way without permission from the building official and the holder of the easement. Mr. Bagstead's fence permit is currently on hold, pending a decision by the council. There are currently 2 other fences within this subdivision that are constructed in the same easement. Staff has done research on this easement, and there is no current utilities or easement was not designated or constructed to carry the water. The staff feels that there are 3 options here. Number 1 is to require all obstructions to be removed from the easement. Number 2 is to vacate the easement. And number 3 is grant permission to allow the structures to remain in the easement, provided property owners sign and file an agreement that the city may, in the future, order the removal of said structures if the easements needs to be utilized. And Jason, do you want to share some, either one of you, Vaughn, go ahead and share with us, where we're at here.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm a little bit embarrassed to be here in the first place. Because, if I'd have known that was there, I wouldn't have done this. But the situation is that when I went to get the fence permit, Jason says, well, you can't put the fence in the easement, and I'm like, what easement? Well, then, that's when I discovered the pool was in there. So, being that as it is, the way that the current ground is, when we started building houses up there, there was never a benchmark to say the water had to come to a certain elevation and then drain a certain way. All of those properties is drained into the field that's undeveloped. So, there really isn't a benchmark, and there's not gonna really be anything until if and when the owner of that ground decides to develop it. If that easement is required or is needed, even with my pool there, we can still access to put utilities right on the property line. It would probably infringe on my pool apron, and, you know, the equipment may have to ride up on that or do whatever, but it could still be done. And as far as drainage goes, I can still control all of the drainage that I had outlined when I got my building permit to do the house.
So you're thinking that the option 3, the permission to allow structures to remain in the easement, you know, provided that you sign something saying that if we need access in the future, we
Right.
can, that would be workable?
I think that would be probably the best solution. That way, you know, nobody else has to do anything either. And the probability of that easement being used in the future is, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but it's unlikely that that easement will be necessary.
And certainly, Scott, we've had a situation like this somewhere else in town previously, have we not?
Within the last month?
Unfortunately, several.
Would 3 basically cover what we've, on a consistency basis, what we've done in other situations?
Yes. In many of those other cases, it wasn't discovered until much, much later, and things kind of got matured. That includes trees and lawns and even the properties themselves. Here, it's relatively new, and I know Steve Schuster has been involved on a meeting that Jason conducted directly with Steve and Vaughn. So he's aware of it too. And so I really do think that option number 3 is appropriate in this case.
Because that was my question on Steve's development plan, that included 20th, right?
Yes.
And so those lots that face 20th then would back up to the same easement, or is that farther down the
It
road?
would back,
It
some
would.
of those lots would back up to this easement, and although it just all sheet drains, like Vaughn said, to the south into undeveloped land right now, I think Steve's concern, I wasn't part of that meeting, but his concern is when a home goes south of Vaughn, what will happen with rear drainage for both properties?
Right.
And, you know, water flows downhill, and it's downhill to the south, so I'm sure somebody's going to be building a berm to try to direct that water from interfering with those new homes to the south.
Right.
And that's when this easement could come into play. And between 17th and 18th, we had a very similar situation where 18th is high, 17th is lower. The property on 18th was flowing down into properties on 17th, and it creates a problem. It can create a problem. And so it took several meetings just to get that resolved. It ain't 100% even right now, so
But you
I
feel-
really
you
think we
feel
should
3
preserve our right on the easement, and 3 would do that,
3 would.
yeah.
I would make a motion to go with option 3, but add the wording, order the removal of said structures at owner's cost, if the easement needs to be utilized.
Agree.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and second to grant permission to allow the structures to remain in the easement, provided property owners sign and file an agreement that the city may in the future order the removal of said structures at the owner's cost if the easement needs to be utilized. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
I would add
Oh,
one
excuse me.
caveat to that, if I could. When 20th Street develops and those lots do become adjacent, I think the Planning and Zoning Committee should be apprised of what we have done on this one, So if they, I'm sure they'll insist on having that 10-foot easement on the back of the lots on 20th Street there.
Yeah, that's in your ordinance.
Yeah.
Chapter 165 requires a 10-foot. Years ago, it used to be 5 and 5. Now it's 10 and 10.
They so often get those things, you know, and don't know what we've been through ahead of it, so it'd be nice to
Keep them
give them a
informed.
heads up on that.
Yeah.
Jason?
Two things. So with this motion, I'm assuming you're giving me permission to grant that fence permit.
Correct.
That would be, yeah.
And then just secondly, I'm going to also, Vaughn is aware of it now, but I'm also going to approach those other two properties with providing the same paperwork.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
good thinking. Okay,
Yeah, believe it or not, I was gonna ask about that, the future. So if Vaughn's fence is back there, which I'm totally fine with, and the guy next door wants to put a fence equally into that easement, is that gonna be allowed then, or what, or adjacent property owners wanna go into that easement, well, my neighbor's got, his goes clear back here, why can't I, or does that, something we need to look at? That's question one. Question two is, don't we require building permits for swimming pools?
No?
Do for fences, and I'm sure that's how this came up, correct?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. But, well, I can tell you, I mean, just a little bit of history. The first fence that violated this easement was the Far West property. And then we sat there for 7 years without anything else happening. And then the property just to the east of that one came and applied for a fence permit. And it was almost that scenario, Clark, is, well, the neighbor's already violating it,
Right.
so can I? So after discussions of telling them, well, it's wrong, even though that's wrong, and like I said, I've told everybody who, that deals with an easement, that by code you cannot put it in there, but if you do put it in there, okay, that they're all aware, just like this document's going to explain, that
You may have to rip it out.
if a utility company or the city needs to get in there to do something, you're removing it at your cost.
Okay.
So they put, and theirs is one panel. Theirs runs perpendicular to this easement. So where they're violating is one 6-foot panel section into that easement. And they're fully aware that they would have to remove. They're aware of documentation having to be provided. So it may happen now that there's two other property owners there that do not have fences
Did the first one get a permit?
after the fact.
So really, this is kind of what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
It would be an after-the-fact thing, but,
Yeah. Yeah, so those two properties that don't have fences may come in and want a fence, and I'm assuming it's gonna be line up with everybody else's.
Right, right.
and they have to sign this
And
document.
we'll do the same thing.
Okay.
thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Thank you.
That was my future question. Did you have one on top of my future? No. Okay, that's all right.
Okay,
Good.
okay, moving on. Discussion.
Nothing wrong.
No? Clark?
Yes, couple things. Public Works Building. If it's pertinent, I would like to see Ryan come back in a couple weeks and update us on the list he gave us 2 weeks ago. I have been out there and we're lagging on a few of the deadlines that he spelled out for us. Tyvek is not done, that was supposed to be done by November 3rd. Protection for the concrete walls of the asphalt was supposed to be done October 27th. It's November 3rd, 4th, and they're still working on it, or they haven't even started it. Today, a lot of the doors overhead and walk-through, and a couple windows are not installed yet. This is not at all meant to be some sort of a critique, but I want to keep, I'd like to see us keep feet to the fire. I'd like to see that thing moving forward a little bit quicker. The ceiling's not done in the main building, which means the doors can only be installed, they really can't be operational. Earlier I talked about the deadline on the CDBG grant, and that is one of my motivators here is I think Public Works building should be a lot farther along than it is. So I'd like to see Ryan come back, and the other thing that I would request of him at that time is a list of what is the city's responsibility in that construction versus the contractor's work, so that our Public Works guys are not actually involved in part of the construction that they weren't intended to be involved in, so those items.
Nope, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
By the way, everything's looking really good. I mean, all the concrete work is done as of this morning. Really, all the contractors, Bears and Ulrich, really did nice work. I mean, what I see. I'm not the inspector, but what I see out there I like. I just wish it was moving a little bit faster. So do our public guys. So, all right.
okay. Anything else, Clark?
No, I'm good.
Anna?
I've never had a project finish on time. Just wanted to remind everybody that, as Clark mentioned, the Politico phone calls and ads should come to an end today, but don't forget to go out and vote. Lower Level Convention Center until 9 o'clock tonight.
Thank you. I'd second that motion.
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing? Scott?
I have nothing.
Bill?
I just want to announce that the leaf and grass site will be open from 1 to 5 tomorrow. Because of daylight savings time, we're rolling back the Wednesday hours, so it'll be 1 to 5. And on Saturday, we're going to extend the hours. We're going to be open from 10 to 4 instead of 10 to 2 this weekend to help people get the leaves cleaned up and get those projects finished. So that's all I have.
And that'll continue until the weather is
Till the weather,
inclement.
yeah, as long as the weather permits.
Any other questions?
Motion to adjourn.
There's